Online. Welcome to this channel. So yes, I'm trying to help myself a little bit accountable this year with my reading. So I decided to do these monthly reviews on what I read this month. I kind of surprised myself this month. I read a little bit more than I expected. I expected to read maybe 2 books and decided I was still gonna be happy with that, but I read a little bit more. Like, it's nothing compared to the piles that I see other people hold in their like videos. I'm like, listen. But I have my reading habits, and I want to talk about. First off, I did read the Light Fantastic, so I am doing a series of where I am rereading the entire Discworld canon, every single novel that Sir Terry Pratchett wrote about the Discworld, and this is the second book, The Light Fantastic. And the plan was, when I started it, I should have been on like book 5 or 6 or 7 by now, but last of the rest of last year wasn't that conducive to reading, so here we are. But I have finished this, and I have posted my... Have I posted? Yes, I have posted my review of this book, and I've started reading the third. That should be out in about 2 weeks. Equal rights. And hey! Real American Girls Tell Their Own Stories. This is a very interesting little book. It is an excerpt, or series of excerpts of actual diaries written by American girls through like 2 centuries, dealing with everything from friendship, boys not liking other people a little bit. One of the girls, I'm like, and their experiences of their actual lives, and it's a nice simple read. And if you are interested in history and actual like human beings, I would need to recommend this, because listen, when I was reading it, I was like, that kind of sounds like people I know. This is good, because that means that people are fundamentally pretty much the same. I do recommend this book. It is, again, nice, short and sweet, and a little bit thought-provoking. The Pirate Ship by Osprey Publishing. Now, reading reviews, the people are talking about that other books by Osprey are, likewise, maybe not the... This is not a heavy look into the subject matter, but it's a nice and good introduction, and apparently Osprey is just fantastic with these type of booklets. They give you the first taste of a subject, and then they give up a nice biography. Look up for further information. But as for myself, I bought this book because I'm trying to write a fantasy novel that heavily features pirates. And in order to do that, I kind of need to know a little bit about pirates in this world, so I can make them a little bit more believable in a completely different world with different set of rules and thinking in some cases. And this is extremely, like I would say, an eye-opener. Like, there are some things that you think you know and you kind of do, but then you actually read a book or booklet by someone who does know, who has handled historic remains, and then you know that you kind of know but you don't know, and now you'll know a little bit. If you're interested in pirate ships and getting a first taste of the history of the ships that the pirates used, like, and how they got them, yes, back on my pirate bins. Pirate Woman by Laura Suk Duncombe. The princesses, prostitutes, and privateers who ruled the 7 seas, and I needed this book. Like, needed it. When it comes to female pirates, we all know about Mary and Anne, like Anne Reid Marybone. Bunny? How do you pronounce it? I don't know. But those are the 2 that we definitely know about. And also maybe Dear Grace from Ireland, but what about everyone else? Like, learning more and more about pirates, because pirates are not a single group that just exists. Like, this isn't an ethnicity, this isn't a nationality, this isn't like shared culture per se. It is an occupation that people either choose or land in, depending on where they get the start. And it is universal, but also because this isn't just about the golden age of piracy, which is another book that I will be getting into later when I finish reading it. I mean, listen. Okay, talking about Icelandic sagas. This chapter, is it chapter 2? Yes, it's chapter 2. Chapter 2 make me hesitate to read a little further on because it does deal with Vikings, and perhaps understandably, I got a little anxious about that because unfortunately, when a lot of people talk about my ancestors, they tend to talk about them in a very specific, weird to me type of light. They talk about them either through absolutely rose-tinted glasses, like these were just heroes and la la la, or they turn absolutely different way and go they were absolute villains and the most horrible people. And I have feelings because these are my ancestors you people are talking about. They were human. First and foremost, they were human, and I am very happy with chapter 2 because chapter 2 just talks about very, very human beings, human women. And there's also, in chapter 1 there's Queen Toita of Illyria. There's so many interesting women in this book, I need to recommend it. Probably gonna do a separate video where I look back into this book more fully, along with the pirate ship and the 2 other books I have in pirates, because I need to talk more. Now, actually related to this, I read yet again, I reread, I think it's like my 3rd or 4th time that I reread the Bounty Hunter Code, based on Star Wars. Now listen, I do have the other 4. I have the Jedi, the Sith, the Imperial, and the Rebel books. But there's always a Bounty Hunter's Code that I turn to, because you have the Jedi and the Rebels, or you have the Sith and the Imperials. You got black and white, and that just doesn't wipe with me. And then you got the Bounty Hunters and the Scoundrels in the middle, and I'm like, those are my people. I am way more a scoundrel. Yeah. Not really, I would probably just be a very quiet person working my garden in Star Wars. But if I had to choose between either Jedi and the Rebels, or the Sith and the Imperials, or the Bounty Hunters and the Scoundrels, I'm gonna go the middle way, because that's more my vibe. I love how these books are set up. Like these are always set up like they are scripts found by usually the Rebels or sometimes the Imperials, and they will have like little notes to the side as written by characters. And this is it's actually 2 books kind of. This is a copy of Boba Fett himself, Bounty Hunters Guild Handbook, with handwritten comments by Boba Fett, Greedo, Bosk, and Dengar, and General Solo, but he only writes like 1 comment, and it kind of being like, whenever I see the comments, like, oh yeah, he was apparently reading this, but he only leaves 1 comment, like, write a little bit more. And then the second part is a do excuse the pronunciation, Bajum Kiritsa Mandoan, a Death Watch manifesto. So because Boba Fett, therefore Mandalorian. Dang, that took too long to remember. But yeah, because Boba Fett is, with his history and his yes, the second book does refer heavily to the Mandalorians, and does make it a little bit more interesting. And this is the 1 book out of these 5 that I continuously reach for when I just need something light to read. Like, this is one of these books that, along with others, that when I just need something, like, it's a little bit like a snack that you reach for when you're feeling a little bit hungry, but you're not hungry. You just want something to eat. This is my snack. This is my snack for when I'm not really hungry, but I want to read something. So yes, that's enough of that. Then I read last night this book, The Little Book of Lost Words, and it's literally just a combination of, a historical painting and a word like Ninnyhammer. That means a fool. It's a noun, Ninnyhammer, 16th century English, a fool. Only a Ninnyhammer doesn't vote. Or famelicos, famelicos. Adjective, 18th century. Oh yeah, lighting is gonna be so weird now. So the battery died mid prattling about this book, the little book of lost words. Honestly, if you are interested in a little maybe nerdy or geeky interest in the English language and the many strange words that it has, I recommend this book. It has so many interesting words like Momsimus? Momsimus. That sounds like something that me and my sisters would have made up when we were like kids and teenagers, and recommended. We are on to the very last book, and the book that I absolutely fell in love with, Sprakkar by Eliza Reid, our first lady here in Iceland. This was an impulse buy. An absolute impulse buy. This came out here in Iceland during the Christmas book flood that is yearly, and books start coming out in like November and early December in order for us to have enough books to read during the darkest hours of the day, of the year. I do know that this book is going to be out in February. It's in English. It's called The Secret of the Sprakkar. Can you see it? There we go. Eliza Reid sat down during COVID and wrote a book, basically. And I love this book. I have not fallen in love with a book this quickly or this thoroughly since I was a child, honestly. This is the only book I read this year in Icelandic. I don't read enough in Icelandic, unfortunately, but I love this book. This is essentially Eliza Reid's love letter to Iceland, and particularly to Icelandic women. It's about women, basically. It's about the things that we have managed. Okay. Listen, this book in the very first chapter, it made me cry, it made me laugh, and it made me stop and think and reminisce. And I'm probably still gonna get choked up because I have emotions and they are good. There are emotions and they are good. She has what we call in Icelandic gestauga. It's the eye of the visitor of the guest. And you are probably familiar with the concept. It is like when you arrive as a guest in someone's house and you can see the things that they don't really see. And I'm not talking about like cobwebs or the dust or anything. You see the things that make their house a home. That you see the things that they have stopped noticing. You see how they, how they obviously love their plants, how they organize their bookshelves, all those little things that we as home owners or people living in those homes don't notice because we're so used to it. She basically does that with Iceland and us Icelanders, and it's like, it is very honest, it is earnest, it is sweet, and it is funny. I mean, yes, she does have critiques, but she presents them in such a way that if you're gonna be insulted by them, that honestly is gonna say a lot more about you than it ever will be about her. This book didn't hurt as much as I was kind of expecting to. Honestly, it didn't like tell me any things that I didn't know already about us Icelanders, like with the things that we can do better and we are working towards doing better. But it's nice. I can't really handle when people are being nice. Okay, how am I gonna put this in words without like actually breaking down further? If someone would ever personally write me a love letter that is half as sweet as this book, I would probably just absolutely break down, because every single time I try to talk about this book, I just start crying. Because it makes me so happy. It like, and as I said, it doesn't actually tell me something like, these are things that we know. We know that there are things that we do still need to make better and that are not as good as they should be. But there are things that we are doing well. And sometimes we just need to be reminded of that. Sometimes we just need to stop and look back and say, actually, we did good. Because one of the things that I remember hearing a few years ago when my friend told me that Iceland ranked highest in gender equality, and that we are apparently the highest when it comes to equality and quality of life for women. And I still feel really conflicted about that, because on one hand it feels good to know that we are doing something well, that, you know, it's always nice to be, well, most times it's nice to be in top, you know, in the top seat when it comes to something. Obviously there's something that we do not want to be a top on, but at the same time, yes, I'm happy we are the best at something, but on the other hand, that's really, really sad. It is unbelievably sad that this is the best. This is baseline. This is how it should be for everyone, everywhere. And the fact that it isn't kind of pisses me off. It makes me sad, it pisses me off, and it's like... But yes, at the very least we are doing something good. But it's also the fact that we don't always have to be, you know, the president, or with this, that title, being who you are is enough. And yet again, this book makes me cry just talking about it, because it makes me happy and it makes me emotional. That's so good. I love it. Honestly, like I said, this was such an impulse buy, because I wasn't gonna buy more books, and then I went and did, and I think there's a flood that began, because now I'm just like, I want to read this book, I want to read that, I want to read that. When can I buy that one? I am so emotional about this book. Dang it. But it's a good emotional, because he sees us and we aren't invisible, and that just makes me really happy, because he sees that we are trying. And we want to be better. Collectively, we want to be better today than we were yesterday, and be better tomorrow than we were today. So, yes! And I only broke down crying 3 times. I love this book, I love this book, I love this book, I love this book, because it... And I'm not really sure what the single point is that makes me just break down in tears. Whether it's because we're seen, because we are loved, I don't know what it is exactly about this book, or whether it's because we know where we aren't doing the best, or, you know, where we haven't quite accomplished what we want to do, and this book reinforces the path that we want to take forwards. I think that's it. I think it's mostly because it's really, really kind, and it's sweet, and it's gentle, but it's really, really funny also, and it has such a lot of character, and it sees us, and it acknowledges us, and it points us towards where we know that we want to go. So this book also, it made me basically go back into my Goodreads and see how many 5 stars I've given books, and it actually surprised me how many, until I looked back and saw that most of those were since 2014-15, and most of those were Discworld novels. But honestly, with books that I have fallen in love with, this is definitely one of genuinely few 5 stars that I've given out, and that I definitely mean. I love this book. I love this book. So yeah, this has been the 7 books that I managed to finish this month. And honestly, I kind of surprised myself, because I haven't been reading nearly as much as I, you know, basically want to, but I am rereading a Discworld novel each month, so I have that goal. And yes, I know that these 2 are very, very thin, but they are so interesting. Like, if you're interested in, like, pirate ships, get this one. The real voices of young girls in America for, what, it's like 2 centuries. Get it. It's interesting. Pirate Woman. I am just realizing just how much of this is actually it's kind of feminist reading. Dang, I didn't realize that. But yeah, the voices of young girls past, the history of pirate women who have been mostly forgotten, and Spraken, written by a Canadian woman. This is a love letter to Icelandic nation and Icelandic woman in particular, and I'm like emotional. the little bit geeky book about pirate ships, what ships were that pirates were, using, particularly in the Golden Age. Like, it's 1660 to 1730, but still it's interesting. No, I was gonna pick you up. Book about lost words. Like, I does have Ninnyhammer. I love Ninnyhammer. It's such a funny word. Yes. My geeky reading, the Star Wars The Bounty Hunter's Code. Discworld, like fantastic. I am impressed with myself. I do want to be reading more novels, and I am currently rereading Equal Rights, which is the third Discworld novel, and should be able to do a video on that next week, so it should be out in the early... Well, I'm aiming the second Tuesday in February. I'm trying to get that as being my Discworld days, the first Tuesday of each month, so that's a goal, that's a goal. Let's see if we can keep it. So yeah, I want to try and read more novels because I've been reading so much non-fiction, but I am very pleased with myself this month. I actually managed to finish 7 books, and I still never found a book that I just love, so that is enough for me this time. I will see you when I see you, okay? Take care, bless bless.